Hi, welcome. I'm Mandy of Cut It Up Quilts. Today I'm going to be demonstrating how to put together Laura Heine's teeny tiny pincushion that's in her group number 5 teeny tiny pattern. I have, for this first segment, gathered a kit. You can gather fabrics from your stash or go shopping for fabrics for your pincushion. I'm going to use an iron, which I have already warming up on its highest setting. And I have Steam-A-Seam 2, which I've already cut off into some small chunks. I believe the pattern calls for 3 yards of Steam-A-Seam 2 or thereabouts, depending on how big you've cut your pieces if you've gathered them from your stash. And then I also have a fuse mat laying out here ready to go. So your Steam-A-Seam 2 should come with 2 pieces of paper on it. So I've already cut a small chunk of it just for demonstration purposes, but it's got 2 paper backings on it, and one is going to come off easier than the other. So this can go in the garbage. I'm going to set it aside. So you're going to, one side is going to be paper backing. This one has the gridded marks on it, and the other side will be the sticky, tacky side. So it's already got a little bit of tack to it that's going to help hold your fabric in place as you begin to get everything ready to fuse. So I've moved the camera in so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up this kit that I have. And already pieces are falling out at me. These are going to set aside, and I just start placing fabric on my Steam-A-Seam 2. It's got a little bit of tackiness to it, so your fabric's gonna stick to it. So the fabric is being placed right side up on the sticky side of the Steam-A-Seam 2. And I really just work to find the best arrangement to utilize as much of the Steam-A-Seam 2 as I can without having to cut off too much extra. Sometimes it's a little bit like playing Tetris or some other video game, trying to get as much surface of the Steam-A-Seam 2 covered as possible without wasting any. And you may choose to keep your Steam-A-Seam 2 attached to the roll and place your fabric out onto a small exposed portion, just so you can see how much you're going to need before you trim it. So I've got a couple small spaces here that aren't being utilized. Let's take some of these cuttables that she has in her kit and place those into these small spaces just to use up as much surface area of the Steam-A-Seam 2 as possible. Watch for any stray threads that might have stuck to the Steam-A-Seam 2. You don't want those underneath of your fabric that you're fusing, just because they might shine through onto your finished project. All right, so I've got a fair bit of the Steam-A-Seam 2 covered. We're going to smooth the fabric onto it. As I said, it's got a little tack to it, and that'll allow the fabric to be as smooth as possible. There's this little chunk here that I'm going to cut out. That will keep your fuse mat a little cleaner and free of adhesive. This little piece I'm going to save and set aside just in case I need to seam it anywhere else. And I'm also going to maybe cut off at this end. The less exposed Steam-A-Seam 2 that you have, the cleaner your fuse mat will stay and the less cleaning up you'll have to do in between fuses. So I'm not sure that I'll save that little piece, but I'll set it aside just in case I have a purpose. So Steam-A-Seam 2, sticky side up, fabric placed on top of it, right side up. I'm going to carefully take this and flip it over onto my fuse mat, and you'll see one of my pieces has decided to come loose. So give everything a quick once over, make sure nobody's come loose or folded over in the process of flipping this over. So now I have the paper backing facing up, and I'm going to take this over to the iron. So I have my fuse mat and my Steam-A-Seam 2 and my fabric on my ironing surface. When I start to iron, I usually start towards the middle and work my way out to the edges. My iron is set at its highest setting. I have no steam in my iron at this point. You don't want to steam anything, as that will make it permanently fused. So dry iron as hot as it goes, and I'm ironing on the paper surface, and I'm going to get this as hot as I can because that will melt my Steam-A-Seam 2 onto the fabric. And I just keep working my way around the project, heating up that Steam-A-Seam 2 so it melts. You're not gonna burn it. So if you want to hold your iron there for a second, you can. And you may see a physical change on your fabric as that Steam-A-Seam 2 adheres to the fabric. You might see a visual cue on the back of the paper backing as it really starts to fuse down. And that just lets you know you've gotten a good fuse. All right, so I have fused my Steam-A-Seam 2 to my fabric. I'm going to give it a second to cool, and then I can just pull this off and set it aside. Now, in between fuses, you need to give your mat a clean to make sure there's no residual Steam-A-Seam 2 adhesive stuck on your mat. So I just run my fingers, my hands over it, and you'll be able to feel the adhesive on there. And when you find a patch of adhesive, you might need to use your nail to pull that off. And I do that over the whole mat, making sure it's clean. That way I don't get any stray bits of Steam-A-Seam 2 on the front side of my next fuse that I do. I also have a silicone scrubber that I use sometimes. So this is a Gypsy Quilter mat scrubber, mat cleaner, and you can even run that over the top of your project just to make sure you've gotten every stray bit of adhesive off of there. Sometimes this is able to pick up bits that you weren't able to find with your hands. And when you're satisfied, you can get ready to do your next fuse just like we did the last one. All right, so we've fused our first round. This is my second round of fusing. I have my Steam-A-Seam 2. Paper side is down towards the fuse mat. Sticky side is facing up. Fabric is placed on there with the right side of the fabric facing up, and we're ready to flip this over. So I'm going to flip this over, and just like before, we're going to get our hot iron, and I start in the middle and work my way out. And you can already see my iron's getting a little dirty. I'm not sure if the camera is able to pick up the little bits of adhesive that are coming off of my iron. The back of the Steam-A-Seam 2 gets a little residue on it, so if you want to use a press sheet to cover the back of the paper backing, as you fuse with your iron. You can, my iron gets dirty no matter how hard I try. And so I am going to show you in another segment how to clean your iron of any adhesive that gets on there, because your iron just is going to get dirty with this steam too. No matter how hard you try, you're going to end up with adhesive on your iron. And it's fairly easy to clean off. I cleaned this one yesterday. It's not quite dirty enough to clean, but after I finish my fusing, then I'll create another segment that shows you how to clean the iron. So that's it for this segment. I am going to leave you, and then we'll work on segment 2 next.